Welcome to this short video tutorial which shows how we can measure a round of angles in magnet field software. First of all, we need to define how we're going to measure that round of angles, and we can do that under Configure and Classes. And in here we'll see a series of different classes which define how the angles will be measured. I've created one myself called Round of Angles, and we can edit that by tapping the button here. So again, what we've got here is the number of sets or number of rounds of angles, and whether those rounds will be direct or reverse, in other words, observed on face 1 and face 2. You can, if you want, observe them on face 1 direct, or just face 2, or come up with your own measurement type. But I'm going to measure these on both face 1 and face 2. I'm going to also measure the vertical angles on face 1 and face 2, and also the distances on face 1 and face 2. And it's asking me here how many times I want to measure the distance for each pointing. In other words, if I chose 3 here, the instrument would take 3 measurements and take the mean of the 3 measurements. But for speed, I'll leave this at 1. Also here we have the tolerances which the user can specify as to what's acceptable in a round of angles. So we've created our class and defined our class. Now I'll come right back out and we'll actually do the measurements. So I'll go into Survey and Set Collection. So this requires us knowing the coordinates of the point at which the instrument is and the height of the instrument. I'm observing to a back sight, and I'm setting 0 degrees there. Of course, this could be another known point that we're measuring a back sight to, but in this example I'll just use a known bearing of 0 degrees to the back sight, and this is the back sight target height. If I go next, we can then determine the angle sequence. This sequence is going to measure the back sight first, then the foresight, then change face, and then foresight, and then back sight, and the various permutations of that arrangement here. The class we've just defined, we're going to choose that as round of angles. And there are various options here about auto turning, auto accept, and predefined points. Predefined points are additional points we want to add into this round of angles. In other words, new points that we need to determine the coordinates for. I would use this auto accept option with caution. Just make sure that your instrument is in good collimation. Or good adjustment, such that when the instrument auto-collimates a prism, it is indeed collimating to what you consider to be the center of the prism. Some instruments, after use, will actually lose the ability to center exactly on the center of the prism, and you just need to either have a field adjustment on that, or take it to your service department to get that adjusted. So do check this first before using the option auto accept. Once we've then finished this dialog, we'll go to the next screen, and it's going to ask for the type of measurement and the target type, and whether we need the EDM mode set for fine, which if we're creating or calculating a new station, we would like to do that. Then next, and these are our predefined points. So the first point I'm going to observe to is my back sight point, and it's a prism station. If I add another predefined point, which is our new station, if you will, I can then determine the target type. And this can be either of the 3 target types: prism, non-prism, or retro target. And for this second target, I'm going to choose a retro or tape target. So we call it sheet target. So that I've now defined that as 102, and this is the height of the prism. But this is a sheet target on a building, so I'm going to leave the height as 0. Accept that, and now I can go. Obviously we can add more targets if we need to here to make it a many points in the round of angles. Go next. So now the observation will actually start, and the first thing I'll do is I'll point the instrument to my back sight target. So we'll acquire the back sight target, which has now been acquired, and we'll measure that target. And now the instrument will ask for the name of the forward target, the next predefined target in the list. In other words, the foresight and the first target. So I'll now turn the instrument to the new target, the new predefined target, which we've called 102. This is a retro target, And I can use this icon here to actually self-center the instrument on the retro target. So I'll ask the instrument to self-center on the retro target, this being a TOPCON Sakia retro target. The instrument will self-center on there, and when it's self-centered, will actually then give me the option to record the point. So I'll record this point. Remember, this is round 1, face 1. Recorded, and then because we've asked you can hear the instrument in the background is now changing face and now returning back to point 102. So it's changed face and doing face 2 observation to the target 102, and that's just acquiring that target now. And as soon as it's acquired, it will offer us the option to accept. But because again we've ticked the button that says automatically accept measurements, that measurement is accepted and the instrument is now turned back to the original target, which is target our backside setup, and we're just waiting for it to acquire that target. And when that's acquired, again a shot will be taken. And so here's the result of the observation set. So it's giving us the residuals of the angles and the various observations and prism types. And there's the raw data. So we can report on this if we want. It gives us a report of the angular and distance observations. And we can save that as a report. And then if we want to, we can then, and we're happy with the observations, we can accept the observations. And there's a flags here to say that we've exceeded the tolerances. I think the tolerance was 5 seconds on angle, but I know in the setup that I've got currently that these tolerances are acceptable, so I'll accept that option. And then the instrument now returns back ready to do topographic measurements in face 1 and face 1. So I can hit the home key and edit and points, and we'll see now that the instrument has indeed recorded the coordinates for 102. So this concludes this short video on how to measure rounds of angles quickly and accurately in magnet field software.